We're all fighting for the same thing in marketing: the attention of those we wish to serve. Sadly, most content and messaging that marketing puts out gets unnoticed. It gets no attention. Diandra's content is not that. It gets attention and it drives sales. So who is Diandra Escobar? First, she began her journey as an SDR, one of the founding SDRs for D2, then worked demand gen for Contact Studios, and has since branched off into doing advising and doing her own thing at Distinctiva Strategies. Probably blew it, sorry about that. Why should you listen to this episode? You want to create content that sells and gets attention. You've never heard of total addressable attention, and you want to hear the main lessons Diandra has gained from her amazing mother. Before we get into it, run the intro. Welcome to Season 3 of On Marketing, a show where we explore what marketing is. Like, really is. I won't tell you what to think. I'll help you improve how you think about marketing. It's April 19th, 2024. I'm Jordan Ogren, a marketing strategist by day and a podcast host by night. Before we get into the episode, please subscribe to my weekly newsletter to get new episodes, extra insights, and the occasional photo of my cat. It's fittingly called a newsletter on marketing. The link to join is in the first line of the show notes, and listen to the outro if you want to hear a special offer I'm giving to anybody who does sign up. Finally, all opinions shared in this podcast are the individual views of the hosts and guests, not those of their employers or associated organizations. This content is intended for informational purposes and should not be considered professional marketing guidance. Listeners act on the information provided at their own risk. I hate that I have to do that. Thank you for being here. What is marketing? What job should marketing get done in a company?
It should drive growth. So basically what a good marketing, within marketing, content marketing, affiliate strategy actually does is drive growth to your business. So at the end of the day, what marketing is educating, building trust. And we often kind of forget what the original definition of marketing is. It's funny because at the end of the day, we think it's something fun, it's something creative, and it is. Marketing, that's the best part of it, when you're capable of being fun and creative. But marketing is to market something to someone. And what does it mean to market? It's like being able to explore, create, and deliver value that actually satisfies needs of a target market that brings profit. That is what marketing does. It brings growth to a company through understanding your customer and what they would like you to deliver value to be able to find what are the needs, the desires, and make a profit from that.
So you go to that kind of first principles of marketing something, and then the creative, the fun and stuff comes in later of okay, how do we now reach these people once we know them or understand them? That's when the fun and the creativeness comes. But rooting into this kind of what are we selling, who are we selling it to, those fundamental questions or things is where you orientate around for marketing?
Exactly. Marketing should drive growth. That's what it should do. Then the rest comes in. The fun, chocolate, sweet stuff comes in after.
I love that because I think I was at this, not a conference, but a conversation, and I posed a question of kind of thinking of marketing as, not thinking of marketing, but let's just imagine marketing as cheerleaders in the sense that a team wins or loses with or without cheerleaders. It's just they give something when they're there. And if your marketing is that, then you'll be gone if times get tough because we don't really need you to win or lose. So that kind of, in my mind, it's if you're not driving growth or revenue or whatever that may be, you're kind of cheerleading. You're just saying, look at us, look at our company, look at our products. So figuring the way of how do you do it in a way that it's without it, we lose every time, or without it, our customers or the prospects don't have, a great idea of us or whichever. So how do you think about that? Because there's some companies, and you're kind of in maybe the SaaS space or whichever, but there's some companies who succeed with no marketing, all salespeople. And there's some companies who have zero salespeople and they do really well. So how do you think of that of turning off marketing? Is that something you think about of if what if I wasn't here, could we still deliver? And if kind of thinking through that exercise, or how do you think at all about that of do we actually need marketing, or does every company need marketing? Or
thing is, marketing is so broad because you do need marketing in the sense of the original meaning of marketing, which is to market something to someone. Like, if you're not marketing it to someone, you're not understanding who this market is and what the value they need from you, then you basically are doing nothing. You're building something, but you're keeping it for yourself. So the original sense of marketing is to market something to someone. How you do that, that depends on the company, that depends on the product, that depends on the service, that depends on so many things. But marketing is necessary in this real sense of what marketing means. Do we need to be Mr. Beast and explode cars and I don't know, have trains crashing through brick walls? No, we don't need that necessarily. At the end of the day, you can have too much chocolate, like I said before. But yeah, in the original sense of what marketing is necessary, or else you're just doing something for yourself.
Yeah, and it almost seems too that you're marketing even if you're not like saying we're marketing. In the way that I think about this is like for somebody, you might say this to someone, go market yourself, or like you're not marketing yourself well enough. And then really then it's like, okay, thinking of like this, how you keep saying it, like you're marketing a product. Okay, this word market, like what does that mean? Does that mean to communicate? Does that mean to convey? Does that mean to, because I think that's like when someone's marketing themselves, the best of that isn't saying, look how great I am, look at all the skills I have. It's like you're just being in attendance, you're in events, you're supporting other people. So then it's like to kind of translate that to a company, to your point, it has a million ways it looks, because to market a product could be putting it on a billboard, could be just going hand to hand combat and DMs. Like there's just a plethora, which then though you would start to say that seems a bit more like sales, going DMs like one to one. And like, so that's where then that whole argument of sales or marketing is sales to many, like it's one to many and sales is one to one or whichever. But then for me, it just gets to a soup. Like everything's just mixed together. At that point, I'm like, am I marketing? Am I selling? Am I like, I don't. So how do you think about that when you get to, for me, you get to the very base level, they start to seem very similar. When you're marketing a product, you're selling that product too? Or it's just when you convert, it's selling per se? Or how do you think about that?
I think about it as, let's say you don't have a marketing team. What marketing is for you is to define the measures and the quantities of your identified market. So you're trying to identify and measure what the size of this market that you're trying to go to is and what the profit potential is there. So basically, it's like being able to segment your company in what it can serve best, and designing and promoting, which is at the end of the day was what the traditional marketing is, promoting these products and services. But marketing always starts from understanding this identified market, its size, what it wants, what you're capable of serving to it, and then it promotes it in various manners and various channels.
And sometimes we might run right to the promoting versus doing the work that you
Exactly.
just talked about.
And that's the
I
biggest problem.
love how you bring in the market, because I listened to a podcast with the CMO a long time ago, and they really were like chief market officer. Like the market is key, and I never hit me till then of like, wow, marketers are really these kind of architects of a market, or where do we play? How do we win in that market? Like, but because then you would think, well, everybody says, like it's all about humans, people. Well, what is a market composed of? It's not, unidentifiable objects. It's humans. There's humans in a market. So really it's like, so they're so intertwined. Of understanding your audience is understanding the market very well, because you understand the people within that market. So I really love how you brought that word that I don't hear a lot from marketing people, markets or market. It's usually stocks or whichever that are talking about the market.
Yeah, and it happens in so many things. I feel like we try to give it so much meaning. We just like to evolve things that we forget what the base is and what the original, like what is marketing? It's not promoting. It's actually all of this before actually getting to the promoting part.
Beautifully said. I think sometimes it's like telephone where you don't go back to the first person who started the game. You just take whatever the 94th person that it's the message is already messed up to go to the
Exactly.
source to be like, okay, I know everybody's telling me to promote or whichever, but let's go to what marketing really is. And I think too, to your point of like we make it complex or it seems more complex, there's something that feeds our ego to like make it feel as if I'm doing something real complex. Like it's not just, writing words and like, no, this is complex stuff I do every day where it's like, it is and it isn't. You're just understanding the market.
I find it kind of annoying, just to be really honest, when people want to go up there and sound so smart and be like using these weird words and acronyms and just being like, oh, I'm so smart, I'm a marketer and I know about data. And it's like, yeah, that's great, but do you actually know what to do? What you're supposed to do is the first part, which is easy. Like it's easy to explain to someone. It's not this whole 100 acronyms and then business. It's like, yeah, it's funny.
No, I love that point, Deandra, because I do feel like with many other areas. So something I always think about is lifting weights. I'm a very amateur at that, but I do it, and it's very hard for me to walk around the gym and tell people I could do 250, I could do 500, because they'll be like, all right, let's go put the plates on and see. Marketing, there isn't that. There is no point at which you can say, okay, you're talking a lot, let's see you do it, because then you get to this kind of incorrect way to say, oh, John's grown 4 companies. He must be a good marketer. Well, yes and no. There's luck, there's market dynamics, there's so many things. And I like this podcast because you're able to kind of have those conversations to go deeper. Like, what is marketing? Oh, let's actually answer this and build it out. And I've really enjoyed your answers so far. So I'm ready to kind of get into some of the main things that I want to learn from you today. So my first question revolves around SEO. If you were to teach a college or just a course on SEO and you titled it The One Thing, what would be the one thing you teach in that course?
Prioritizing results that matter. So, how do you actually create revenue generating content? Because that's the hardest part. Actually prioritizing these results that matters. It has to be in a way where you flip this kind of traditional funnel of rankings, traffic, then sales. You want it the other way around. You want to focus on sales, then traffic, and then ranking. And that happens a lot when you don't prioritize actually like conversion focused strategies and you actually create a high quality, engaging content that's tailored to your audience. At the end of the day, you just end up chasing impossible keywords with high search volume, generating kind of like very generic content that isn't relevant at all to your audience. Content marketing becomes a nightmare because it's a grind and it just becomes slow and chaotic. You don't know how to choose the right revenue relevant keywords. You just get gut punched left, right, and center by the algorithms. So if you actually really want to bring in results that convert your audience into like leads or customers, you need to understand how to rank for revenue relevant keywords. You need to be able to create evergreen content that actually attracts your ideal customer.
You're almost flipping this kind of what matters. You're flipping it on its head. The third thing to you is the first thing. So what changes out of that, or what's some of the early things that you start to think or do differently when you kind of think through this new lens of, okay, it's not about traffic or rank as much as like the revenue, like actually having that content lead, creating content that sells. Like what changes first when you first do or realize this new kind of way to approach SEO?
The first thing you have to focus on is your content journey. So, kind of like the customer journey. It's actually understanding and doing research on your customer and what is this journey that they go through? What's their desire? What's their goal? What are the solutions they're looking for? And then you can start thinking about what's the keyword type I'm going to use there? What are the relevant terms I'm going to use in this content to actually fit in within this content journey? So for me, that's the main part, the famous awareness, consideration, decision, and then onboarding. All of this has to be like your main focus. Then after that, you can start doing the more like data-driven approach, optimizing your strategies to be able to, at the end of the day, actually get an ROI out of it.
So the customer journey, I like that. So you're starting first with customer versus keyword or machine per se. Like where maybe in the past it was more machine led, algorithmic. Like how do we get to the top? First now it's like how do we actually look at that journey? Now, could you with me steel man? So I've heard a lot of people have takes that the funnel is done. Forget the funnel. The journey is not linear. It's up and down all around. Can you steel man like maybe why the customer journey is actually like not beneficial to focus on? Is there like any things you could think of to make that argument that like it's actually like there's something within there that you should focus on, because trying to get this perfect journey will either make you lie to yourself or you'll be forever trying to pull in this perfect road of first insight to buying, where it's never, for me, when I buy things, it's just so crazy. I might have learned of something 5 years ago and I don't buy the Ember mug till today because something triggered it or whichever, thinking of jobs to be done, something pushed me or something pulled me towards it and anxiety was removed or whichever. So how do you make arguments that maybe the journey isn't like linear, or maybe it can lead to like negative side effects by solely focusing on that?
Will never be linear. I think we all agree on that. No one actually goes like, oh, I'm in a funnel right now. I'm
Yeah.
in this phase, and then I'll be in the next phase, and then like no, like you're just life is chaotic. Like there's breakups happening in the world, people having children, getting married. Like no one cares about your journey. Only you care about it, right? So
I
like
love that.
the thing is, it is important because frameworks exist for a reason. They don't exist because the world is framed. Like, you can't use the same framework for everything, for everyone. You can't, like, a framework exists to help you organize your thoughts. Doesn't mean that you have to live by it. So, I do believe that it is important to actually create a content journey framework and a customer journey framework because it's an easy way to organize your ideas and understand normally what my clients and the customers that I currently have go through is this. So I'm going to try to imitate their daily life, where they're usually at, what do they do, what do they want, what are the details. I want to help them choose, trying to understand them the best. So a framework is basically a way to help you organize your thoughts so that you can understand that how you how you create content to actually go through this journey that doesn't exist, but at the end of the day all you want to do is that you want to show that you understand them, you want to introduce your product, you want to prove that your product is the best, you want to show them how to do it, all of these things in a more organized way.
I really enjoy how you say that the world isn't a framework, but there's frameworks to help you think through the world. I think just of like laws per se, like the law of gravity or certain things where it is clearly like this is how it works. But then there's other theories. We have theories on this or we have theories on that. So my question to that of like, it's still important even if it's not perfect. How do you continually advance it? Because for me, it's almost like once a theory is put in stone, it takes a little bit of cognitive work to then rework that theory versus just always going back to that theory to say, this is the journey. Well, it's like, but we've gotten 5 new insights that prove that maybe it looks a lot different in this stage, but to your point, we've already documented it. Like, then like, how do you keep it growing? Because it has to grow as your product grows. I'm guessing their journeys change. To your point, the world, COVID had to have changed. I mean, I don't think many people did change their journey after it, but I think they should have kind of threw away the old journey and be like, what now is the journey with COVID being a reality or whichever, if we were an event software or whatever. So how do you think about like constantly iterating and improving it when you put it in stone? Because it's a little harder to like disagree now because it's like, well, that's the Bible, like it's gospel.
The best ways to actually talk to your customers, a lot of people forget about that. I'm
That's a
sorry.
good
It's like
point.
sometimes I
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
like they're so simple, but it's like you're just trying to find the new platform that's going to give you the research industry. And
Hmm.
this is all important. I'm not saying that these things are not important. I just feel that I like to remind people that, have you done this first part? If you already did that, then okay, let's try these other things. But maybe you haven't tried what the bases are. Have you actually spoken to your customers? And then a lot of companies will be like, oh, no. Like, I was just trying to implement 3 billion types of frameworks, 3 types of mental models. I don't know how many things exist. So many things exist because we're so different and everyone understands things differently. So there's a million frameworks on how to be more productive, like the 25-minute and 5-minute. I don't know. There's a bunch of those type of things. Why? Because we're all different and we all idle at different like RPMs, and we're very different human beings. We're very different companies. What are we doing with marketing? We're marketing to humans, and humans are unpredictable. They're different. We're all in different contexts. So, I mean, first things first is, have you spoken to your customers? If you've already done that, then there's advisors. It's always nice to have kind of like a third view of things, because sometimes I feel like companies kind of get like squared in just how they think and how it is, and when it kind of get like this third opinion of things, they're like, oh, I actually never thought about that because we were just so focused on this framework and this is how it goes and this is how our company is and this is how our audience or product channel fit is like. So yeah, I feel like going to the basics, making sure you've actually like worked your way into the basics, and then if that isn't working, being able to ask for help. I feel in marketing we kind of forget that we also could ask for help for other people. We're not an expert in a lot of other things. So that's why there's agencies for that aspect, because they have some certain expertise that they can come in that you might not have. That's why there's advisors. That's why there's so many things out there that you can kind of like reach out to.
Yeah, marketing isn't meant to be done in a silo, even though that's how it gets done many times. Using others, using even people outside of the building to help, but even people within it, maybe an engineer, maybe a sales, like they may know something. So I think with your part of talking to customers, I feel like sometimes people do that to a point, and then maybe this is where my question or my angst comes from, is then once we've nailed the journey, we stop that. Right? We've gotten the answer. And I think that's like something with marketing. I heard it put by this woman, but it's like you're almost constantly on this like treasure hunt. Like you're constantly trying to put pieces together, but you never get to the point where it's like, aha, light bulb moment, I have the exact answer. It's a never-ending game. So I guess if you hate that and you want the answer, probably shouldn't go to marketing. But it then, for me, gives the fact that we need to never stop talking to customers. We need to never stop pulling insights in from the market, from our customers, to constantly have a point of every quarter, every month. We look at that journey, or we look at any document, strategy, or whichever, and say, is this accurate based off of what we're hearing? Because I find some of the best companies that do marketing are very agile in the sense that they're willing to forget, learn, grow, change. They're not stuck to say, no, we're doing this series forever, even if every customer hates it. It's like, no, we're willing to change. And I think there's something within humans that's that same way. Are you willing to uproot a belief, or will you go to that belief to the grave, quote unquote? So I find it's just helpful to kind of have that recurring customer interviews, or constantly talking to them to then feedback, versus having like, we've done 15, I think we're good forever. It's like, well, you may get new insights if you keep talking to them.
And it'd be amazing that every single time that you actually talk to your customers, you're right. Like, that would be amazing. Yes, please. Like, if every single time I talk to my customers and I have everything nailed, I'm gonna feel so proud about myself and my company, and be like, we actually understand who we're targeting to. Like, great, do it so you can like boost your ego if you want. But it's
Yeah.
awesome. I mean, like a lot of companies do understand their customers super well, and usually those are the ones that thrive, and the other ones that are just looking for a million other ways instead of going to like the basis of who their audience is and what they want and talking to them.
I love that. Yeah, there's somebody, the person closest to the customer, company closest to the customer wins. I think I typically agree with that statement, because they're able to make the pivot or do the thing because they're closer to the customer. It's almost like if you're closer to a friend versus you're like a friend of a friend. you need to always get that information through multiple people versus being just that close friend you can then know to be like, oh, they need, some flowers because they've had a tough week versus, oh, Joanne told me that, Stephanie's having a hard week, but it's so far removed that now it's like a week past and she's like, oh, I'm good now. So I think getting closer to them if you're willing to be open. And I think something that I want to go on a tangent on is this. I find the best marketers take a scientific approach where I love what you're saying. It's like go and be surprised that you are right. But it's almost like the best marketers have this kind of the scientific falsifying mindset where it's like, I want to almost falsify, get this wrong so I can get it closer to being right. Because there's this book I read, Mindwise, where it's interesting that if you have a spouse or someone you love and you ask someone how much you know your spouse, they'll give a very high percentage. And then when you ask strangers, they give a lower percentage, right? Because I don't know this random person. I don't know you too well, Diandra. So I'm just going to guess maybe 30% I might know. But when it's with someone you love, you go higher. Well, the truth is when you take the test, when you actually start answering questions about the person, you don't know them any more than the person knows a stranger, but you have the illusion of knowledge with someone you love, someone you're close to. And I think so many companies get into that with their customer. They begin to have this illusion of knowledge. We're not trying to falsify. We're trying to find things to prove that our stance is correct, our customer journey that we've landed on, versus being like, let's keep proving this wrong. Let's keep falsifying our theory to make it into Newton's law versus just settling with a very poor, flawed theory just because then we don't have the dissonance of like not knowing, and that sucks. So I really that's something that's always on my mind of like, how do I constantly stay in the falsifying mindset versus, and that's in every area of life, right? Versus like, I'm such a great person. How about I falsify it? Let me see areas in my life where I'm a piece of shit so I can get better versus saying Jordan's an amazing husband. No, I'll go through a list of 15 right now of where I fall short, and then I can get better versus just being like, where am I good? Like, just tell me what I've done good. So I find that to be like very unique of both life and marketing, being like, let's falsify this theory to make it better versus like, let's just accept
Yeah, and
it.
that's exactly what scientists do. They have a hypothesis, they test it, they get the results, and they iterate based on it. And then they go again. They do another hypothesis, they test it, they learn from it, they iterate, and it goes like that. And that's basically an amazing way to go around life, marketing, and everything. Because if you just believe these set of beliefs and you never try to create these new hypotheses and test them out, you're never going to learn new things. And I love this fact of like, let me just see, like, what if I'm wrong? Let's just see if I am wrong. Let's test it out. Let's do other things. I love that. That's amazing.
All right, this went way longer than I wanted, so I do want to, before we get to the hot seat, I do have one other kind of concept topic that I've heard you or seen you talk about. Is this a total addressable attention? So you were in a video, you were talking about how like, oh, you only think you're competing against your competitors' content or this content, and then you bring in, no, you're competing with Mr. Beast because there's this total addressable attention that we have. So first time I heard that, so congratulations. I read a lot and I take in so much that there's very few terms or concepts that hit me and I'm like, haven't thought of it like that before. So just maybe talk about what it is, why it matters, and kind of when you first came to this realization of there's this total addressable attention.
It comes from the total addressable market, which is basically when you reference a revenue opportunity to be available for a product or a service to like be able to prioritize what your business is going to do. So basically, there's like the total available market. Then there's like the served available market, and then there's the actually like your target market. So basically, the TAM is like the whole thing. Then there's the one that you're actually serving, and then there's like the target one. So what I kind of like modified it to content specifically, which is the total addressable attention. So people's, like we were saying, people's day is not only your content. It's not only being on LinkedIn. It's not only being like there are so many things. We really do forget that there are so many things happening in someone's life that you have to find the way to within this huge circle be inside this little one accurately because they have a whole life around them. They have their baby is crying. They're I don't know, they just fought with their spouse. Someone died. They're watching their favorite Netflix show at night. They see Mr. Beast doing insane stuff and like cars exploding and all of that. So
Yeah.
basically what you're doing is you're kind of competing for attention because someone's like your customer market has so many other things competing for its attention on a daily basis, not only your product or your industry, like so many things are competing for this person's attention. How do you capture it and actually make it valuable? Because thing is, you can capture it in many ways. You can just go do weird stuff, but is this actually bringing in value? So something that I say in that video, I think I remember, is like people actually want to watch educational content. Yes, I'm saying that we're trying to compete with Mr. Beast, but I'm not saying that people want to see necessarily Mr. Beast as your content because they want content that actually like educates them. I give like I don't know, like a saying which is that they want content that educates them for the same reason that they want to eat food that nourishes them. Because like purely entertainment content like Mr. Beast is like eating a chocolate bar. Like you can eat one and it's delicious, but then after a while you feel like crap. So marketers kind of have this opportunity to create content that actually nourishes people so you feel good when you see it. You're like, it got my attention out of this whole world behind me and in within me and in front of me that is trying to capture my attention. It captured my attention, but it actually nourished me. It actually made me feel like it was worth my time and it was high quality. So it's kind of like understanding how you make people think that vegetables are candy. So it's them seeing something that seems delicious like a chocolate bar, but actually finding out, oh, it's a vegetable and it nourishes me. That's amazing because it caught my attention. It satisfied my taste buds. It satisfied what I wanted to see today and made me happy or was like kind of entertaining. But at the same time, I was like, I actually got value out of this and I didn't just like waste my time. So that's what I kind of say with total addressable attention, which is like there are so many things that are competing for your target audience's attention in their life, in their job, and in their day to day that you have to try to find how you go into this like little space of their lives and actually capture it.
I love that, Diandra. And I think it's a reality that is maybe tough to grasp right away. Like, no, it was tough enough creating content when I thought I was only competing with other SEO companies or other, agent. Now to realize Mr. Beast is in my kind of competitor set, that's a challenge. But something that I really stuck with me from Gary Vaynerchuk, I'm not a huge follower of him anymore, but he always talked about that he day trades attention. And that like really was something that he always like that's what it's all about is attention. And his whole thing was like he's building a Death Star with his VaynerMedia and with all these media companies to kind of point attention towards something. And then everybody goes there because he has this control on attention. And I really think of like one-to-one relationships. It's like you can be together, but if there's no attention being given, aka I have your attention, like we're not transferring, we're not growing together. We're just both back to back on our phones on TikTok or whatever. We're not growing. We're not giving each other any attention. We're giving the phone attention. So I really love this kind of thought of like marketing is gaining attention, holding attention, nourishing the attention as you talked about, like delivering what they came for. I wrote this, or I'm currently writing a guide on content, and obviously the start of that guide is like defining the who, like defining the person, but then it was like, well, I think there's some purpose of entertainment content. So then I was like, well, every person, audience, they have progress they're trying to make, which then I like that word because it's like maybe a video that's completely entertainment and like comedy will help them make progress because they're watching it after their day. And it's like, I don't want to think anything about marketing right now. I just need something to laugh at. And you fill that space because you've realized that's the progress my audience is trying to make, is to let go of the day. It's to take a step forward in a different way. Or maybe the progress is to get better at health. So then all I do is post tons of health benefits. But I really think many times we take a step back and define that progress, we'll realize it isn't, and maybe you disagree, which would be awesome, but it isn't always like I need to learn something. Like every piece of content needs to educate me, because right now the progress I need might just be to feel seen. So maybe it's a story that has no educational content, but I feel seen because it's talking about another person who has an anxiety attacks. I've had those. I connect. I feel seen. I move on and have dinner with my family, and I'm better off. I'm nourished, using your terminology. So how do you think about that, of like the progress an audience is trying to make and then your content delivering on that progress? And we're probably using different words to talk about the same thing, but what are your thoughts on that initial idea of like progress? And maybe it is entertainment, but maybe it's educational, depending on who.
I love what you said of filling a space. So it's kind of understanding what is your space within this person's life or work or whatever. And that also has to do with when you're kind of organizing this content journey, customer journey framework, is like, what is my space within this moment of their journey or life, to be more broad? What is this space? Like, what is my role in each of these moments, and what do I need to deliver? That's why not like all content has to be trending topics. Not all of them have to be like evergreen. Not all of them have to be educational. Not all of them need to be entertainment, because you need to understand what is the space that you're filling in depending of the moment. It also depends on what your goal is. If we're talking more business wise, like what are your objectives? You really need to align with your objectives. If your objectives are just growth, 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 then maybe these entertainment things are not what you're looking for right now. But if you're trying to connect more deeply with your audience in some point of your business growth, then maybe right now it's time to create this nice, kind of like warm content that isn't trying to sell anything at all. So I feel like it also really just depends on how you're going to align with your business goals. And no, not everything is yes or no, black or white, entertain or not entertain. At the end of the day, companies and people are always going to defy the laws of marketing. You'll see someone do something that people for so long had said, you can't do that. That's not how you do it. You have to do this or that. Right now, I could be saying something that someone tomorrow is going to do, and it's going to be like, ha, see, I did it. You know what I mean? So it's those things that you say, um, just find what your space is within in that moment or space of your target audience.
I love that, because you have to know them well to know the space. It is kind of maybe what is baked in there, which you've started or have talked a lot throughout this convo about really understanding them. So then you know what is that, or yeah, no, I love that. I love that. And I think too, yeah, it's easy to get to the dichotomy, entertainment, education, or even the opposite, which I don't think is beneficial, is to merge them. It's edutainment. That's the only type of content you need to make, is it's educational and entertaining. I agree with you. There's a time and place for each of them. And I think black and white thinking is easy, but it's not the best, but it's easy. So we do it. I do it so much of, no, only educational. Nobody wants to see it.
Yeah, and a beautiful way of thinking of marketing and thinking of kind of like how you study it and learn about it is learn about yourself. Like learn what captured your attention. Why did it capture your attention? Who are you? Like understanding so many of those things also help. Like, yes, I have 100% sure, for sure, bought a product just because I like the company. Like, I know that. Like, I will, someone can tell me this has, if we're talking, let's say, more direct to consumer, like this, and that also depends. If you're in B2B or B2C, you're direct to consumer, a lot of things do change, but I did buy something just because it was cool, right? Or because I saw someone use it, or because it looks nice, or because it made me feel good, because I feel aligned with it. So you kind of have to understand, within the context of your life, if you're in B2B, you're like, why did I buy this software? Why did I buy this tool? Why did I start with this agency? Like, analyze yourself as well, because there's probably a million tools you're using right now. There's probably agencies you're working with. There's probably people you're working with, companies. There's so many things that you're doing in your day-to-day life that either captured your attention, built trust, educated you, or actually convinced you, or just showed you, hey, I have this and I know you need it. Oh, okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I did need it, and you made my life a lot easier. So kind of like analyzing this, and at the end of the day, that's what you're doing. Like a business will grow if it is actually offering something that people want.
I've said a few times this skill of observing is really critical for marketers, but just in general in life. Something I learned that was comedians, they're really good at observation because that's many of their jokes stem from observation. I noticed these two people at dinner not talking or like something happening, and then boom, now I have a joke off that. So I think though, what you're talking about is turning that observation inward at times and being somewhat, I wouldn't say critical in the sense of like negative, but just critical of like when I do purchase things or whichever. And I think it's a gift and a curse. You can obviously overboard it consciously. Why did I use my left hand to open the door, not my right? It's like, okay, like we're going to be in the subconscious space, and I don't know how much gains will be there, but there is some benefit to say, why do I feel seen by this video, this blog post or whatever, and then re-engineering that into your own marketing in its unique way is a skill I think more people could try out to get good at, because it's a really great skill once you've have it honed to be able to reverse engineer why a campaign's successful, why a company's successful. Being like a, an architect of business and content and marketing is a skill I'm working on, and I think others it's a worthy skill to strive towards.
100%. 100%.
Awesome, Diandra. Well, I could talk to you forever about marketing, so we're just going to have to skip the hot seat because we've gone over our time. Not that there is a time, but I'm going to just say we've gone over our time. So, talking about this last segment, though, kind of on like looking inward, your self knowledge, it leads into this final section, which is kind of the let's go deep. I think really the best marketers a lot of times have great insights on life. They are self aware, they know themselves well. So, you've posted on LinkedIn talking about your mother, how important she is in your life. And as someone who has an amazing mother myself, I was put on third base. But can you just talk about maybe one, two, something that you learned from her, you observed from her, she modeled for you that you still do today or you think of regularly?
So many things come to mind, but one thing she did teach me is that doing hard things feels good. So I was raised by this mindset. 'Cause she's the most hardworking woman I have ever seen. Like, sometimes I honestly don't know how I would have gotten to her point of life from where she started. Like, I'm Colombian. My whole family is Colombian, and she's the typical what people think Colombia is, that she rode horses, she sold popsicles, coffee, she had pigs, and she had to wake up at 4 a.m. to go pick up fruits and sell them at the market. People were dying around her, being killed because it was a time of violence in Colombia. So she taught me that doing hard things actually feels good. The worst I feel, maybe it's just something that was like ingrained with me when I was little, is the worst I feel is when I'm procrastinating. I actually do think it's good and it feels good to do hard things.
Wow, you definitely were lucky to have that experience, because I think many times we actually get maybe the opposite model from our parents, not indirectly, but or not directly, but indirectly, of seeing them maybe choose the easier path, whether that is an affair, just whatever those things could be. Many times we're modeled in a way of like, yeah, it's easier to just take the frictionless road. But I firmly agree with you as well. And obviously what your mother lived and passed on to you through that was like, it actually feels good, ironically, to do the hard thing, to eat the toad right away in the start of the day. And I'm similar to you where my worst days, so now I've gotten good to be like, I need to do these three things every day, or like these hard things, or else I'm just going to feel bad. Like, I know I could have done more, I procrastinate or whatever. So have you ever thought about, because then what comes to my mind is you have a higher standard for yourself. So you're going to do those hard things. You're going to not procrastinate, because if you do, you feel bad. You don't have this low standard. Have you thought about standards in your life before, of like, how do I keep a high standard? Or you just kind of maybe got gifted that from your mother, of having this higher standard, that this is how our family lives?
Standards are important. You just need to be careful, of course, to not destroy your mind and your body in the process. There is a limit to everything, of course. There are people that are a lot more intense than I am, for example, here that I'm giving the example, and they're destroying their mind and their body in the process. But standards are important till that point, till it gets to that point. I really like knowing when I've been pushing myself too hard, when I don't get my unnegotiables done and my fundamentals, which are basically eat well, sleep well, socialize, and meditating. If I know that I'm not sleeping well, I'm not eating well, I'm not socializing, and I'm not having a time of like mindfulness for my mind, then I know maybe I've gone a little bit too far. And sometimes you do have, I'm not going to say that you have to be perfect and like you have to wake at 5 a.m. and do this perfect life. If you're capable of doing that because you're like, you like that intensity of life, then that's amazing. There's moments in your life where you just can't go out with friends and socialize, and you can't do exercise because you need to work hard and you're building your business and you're going to push hard. Like I've had weekends where I had to wake up at 3 a.m. and I used to go to Switzerland when I was a student and work, and it's not, I'm not saying that you need to have this perfect life balance all the time, but do kind of see that if your standards are a little bit too high, it's because you're not being faithful or like actually completing these unnegotiables and fundamentals of your life.
I love
That's
that.
the
I love that. That's beautiful. And I think there's this saying that I've heard, and I think it's applicable to all things, but I think with standards, and it's strict with self, lenient with others. So you have strict standards for yourself, but you're very lenient with others, because I feel that is a challenge for people who start to adopt higher standards. It's like, why can't I just put this on Tina? Why can't I just put this on George? Well, they didn't sign up for this. Like they didn't, say one day, like, this is how I want to live my life. So you're very lenient with them to say, I get why you're late. It's okay. But for me, I have a standard that I'm never late. This is funny because anyone who's listening to this that knows me knows I have no standard for being late. I'm always late. But it's just like I can't put the same standards on others, because it's just unfair. And I think it's a way to live a terrible life where you think you're better than others because you have standards and they don't. One final question, Diandra, because again, I could talk to you forever. This is a great conversation. What is something, with everything changing, AI going to take the world over, all of these things constantly changing, what do you hope is the same in 10 to 15 years? So it's 2040. What do you hope stayed the same that we have today? Or maybe it was a few years ago that we had it. What do you hope stays the same with everything changing around us?
I hope human interaction stays the same, which is kind of the hardest one, right? Because with this whole future, some people might have AI as their new girlfriend or their new boyfriend. They might never see someone in real life because they're just all online. So I do hope we still have some human interaction. That would be very depressing if we don't.
Yeah, that's a world I'm not sure I want to totally live in, right? If we get to completely virtual only. I love that. Even though virtual is great, because I would have never likely met you wherever you're at in the world, me in Wisconsin. So it has its benefits, but yeah, I'm pulling for that future as well. Human connection. Awesome. Well, thank you, Diandra, for coming on and giving your time and your wisdom. I really appreciated the conversation. So thank you for making the time.
Thank you for inviting me. It was a pleasure. I had a lot of fun.
And this is the end of the podcast. Thank you for making it this far, because few do. So, to repay you for the time you spent listening to me, my guest, I have an offer. I have a deal for you. If you click the first line in the show notes and sign up for just let me know, whether LinkedIn DMs or email jordano@hey.com, I will give you 60 minutes of free marketing help, whether that be guidance on your messaging, positioning, or your content strategy, or even helping you write a landing page for a new product or service you have coming. Sign up for it. Let me know you did. In 60 minutes, I am all yours. That sounded a lot better when I wrote it, but anyways, you get the gist. I really appreciate you being on this journey with me to uncover what truly is marketing and how do we apply it today. I hope to see you back here next week for a new episode, and stay thinking differently.